Hi, this is Mr. Fleming, and this is Christmas week. It's December 22nd, and this video will be for all my classes. All the classes had projects due before the quarter end, and those projects were in. And now we were working on a Christmas drawing for the last week and a half in school. The idea was to create a frame 8 inches by 10 inches that you're going to work on thumbnails and then have rough sketches. And then from the rough sketches, you want to go to a final draft. And what you were trying to do is follow the example of creating thumbnails and then a rough. Now, the thumbnails we did in class, and I set up a very clear foreground, midground, background. You can even see it here in this rough draft where I have a very firm foreground and a very firm background. And I worked out my tones beforehand, but we also made a special emphasis on creating color studies before we go to final draft. This will make our final drafts a lot easier to accomplish because we'll have ideas before we enter our final draft stage. So with that, we did several drawings, and here are the drawings we came up with in class. We have our 3 wise men, of course, and the manger in the midground, the shepherds in the background. Here is something a bit more abstract. It's been called Mary with lobster claws by some of my students, which, again, they're merciless to me, and they told me very clearly this was not abstract. This one here, you can see I actually took from this thumbnail over here, and I got a little design down there. So I worked out the design to make this one, and really I just wanted to kind of put color fields next to each other. I was working with complementary, red and green, blue, purple and yellow, blue and orange. And then I have another one over here, which is more traditional. It's Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus. This is Mary. I kind of like that one. Put the 3 wise men in the background. So from there, I made a rough. So I have all my major lights and darks worked out, and there's my background right there. And that's pretty good. Way to go. But what I did next is I put it on Bristol board. I prefer to draw on good drawing paper. Bristol is just a lot better to draw on than your drawing paper. But you can see here, I've got my designs all worked out. From my rough drawing, I sketched out this one in graphite. This one I sketched out in yellow pencil. There is some blue there because I know where it is, the major areas. But you don't want to sketch out in graphite to do a colored pencil. It just turns muddy and dull, and it just isn't a very nice effect. Keeping it yellow underneath keeps a glow. It's a much better effect. But I'm going to do both, dark, black and white with graphite, and I'm going to use color on this side. But both drawings have a little bit of a border. I'm doing a little bit smaller because I want several designs with mine, and that's what I want you guys to see. Let's work on a little technique. The technique I want to talk to you about is making flesh tones. Now, of course, you can buy flesh tone colored pencils, and there are lots of good ones, good products out there, including markers, excellent ones as a matter of fact. And they're a lot of fun. But I think learning to mix colors is an essential skill. Even if you work digitally in Photoshop, you want to have an understanding of color. It just makes much, much higher quality product as far as final draft. Whether you're an art student or professional graphic artist, having an intimate understanding of color, I think, is essential. And like we talked earlier, there are professions out there that are simply colorists, people who are experts in color, both in the arts and in the sciences. But I have the colors. I think for the most part, what I really need is a good pink. This is moving into magenta, but this is a good pink I'm using, and a strong yellow. I know yellow can be a little jaundice, but I think yellow is important. I do have a red here and a true orange, and then I have a couple browns. This is a soft sienna, and this is more of a chocolate brown or a walnut brown. But that's all I need. And I've got some extra pencils just so I don't have to sharpen afterwards. But really, most of the work can really get done with just a pink and a brown. I could anyway. But I like color and I like drawing, so those things are a little bit easier. You may want to have more of a range, but really you want to build up beforehand. And again, I did a practice before I'm going to my final study. So I'm going to try to bring the camera down so you guys can watch me, and I won't spend too much time on this. But here is my rough right there. And here's my colors, and I might go in there with my yellow first. And I don't know what you guys can see. You guys see okay? You see everything? All right. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit. So I'm going to put my yellow field down. And I want to use a lot of the white of the page, okay? I don't have to put everything on with colored pencils. Keep in mind that most colored pencils are made of wax. Good colored pencils have more oil, but you should understand what your pigment is made of as far as mixing goes. I'm going to freehand this just a little bit, and I might move to my tan right now so you guys can see what I'm working on. So I have a field of yellow underneath there. I'm going to a little bit darker brown just to get some of my details in here. And here's Mary's lips, and I know their lips should be pink, but I want to put a little bit of flesh tone in there with brown and trying to get my drawing all kind of set up. Now again, there's an underdrawing there. I've already drawn this once. And there's my brow. And again, there's yellow under there. I have a good field of yellow so that I'm hoping that it will glow for me when I finish the drawing up. And there we go. So I'm going to try and make some tones in here. And again, I've worked out my lights and darks already, so I know where I'm going. And there's her eye. Shadow in there for her nose. And I'm going to kind of work out the shapes. I'm going to go in there with a little bit of orange in a second. And the thing is with colored pencils, if you have a variety of tones, oranges, browns, you really can do a lot more variety of faces. Everyone's skin tone is a little bit different. It's not quite as easy as if you're from Africa, you have skin that's mahogany or sienna, or if you're from Europe, you have skin that's pale and tan. If you're from Asia, you have a bit more warm skin. Everyone's skin is just a little bit different. It just isn't that easy to say one group of people have one group of skin. Within any group, there's a variety. I might want to bring that veil back and give more face. But with this as an underdrawing, I can do it. And wax does not erase very well, but where this is an early stage of the drawing, I can erase a little bit. So long as you have more paper than wax, you should be okay. But I want to bring that face back just a little bit. So I'm going to add some more yellow to it. And that should take care of it. That line is still visible. I'm going to try to get it out a little bit more. That should do okay. And again, I'm going to put yellow down. And I know people are saying, oh, you know his face is yellow, and they're not. But I'm going to use this hopefully to make a glow. And I'm going to go without the orange right now. Bring that jaw down a little bit too. And you should think of your project as always a work in progress, that you're allowed to change, modify, and you feel a lot more comfortable doing it if you do those preliminary steps to get the drawing worked out, you design your composition, and that way you just feel like much more confident that you have a direction and a map, and go from there. I want this to glow just a little bit. I'm going to move into my pinks and my browns soon enough. That. I want a warm face. All right, so let's go back to my browns. I don't want the videos too long. I was told keep them short and pithy. A lot of this work has to be done on your own, in your own studio space at your house, and that will be increasing. We're not working in school until, at the very least, January 11th. So just keep that in mind, folks, that we are all now self-learners. All right. Put a little bit more orange in there. I'll use my blue just to make that veil fall back a little bit so I know exactly where that line is. I might put more of a shadow in there. But there is, I'll put a tone there so you can kind of see where Mary's going to be. I did use pencils to mark out the border, and I may remove them at the very end, but I want to have some buffer zone between me and the edge of the paper. That's not always the case, but I think as students, it's a good place to learn to kind of make our art a little bit more professional, really. Final draft quality. I might use that brown as a accent for that. So, all right, now we got that. Let's go in there with a little bit more. Now remember, Mary was Palestinian. She was a Jew that lived in first century Palestine. So she probably was a little bit darker skinned than most Europeans. I don't really know that for sure. I'm just guessing that, but you can see how that yellow does really make the colors glow. The brown's not near as flat. It's much richer. I might use a dark brown in the end, but right now, I just want to kind of get these tones right. She still looks a little jaundiced. I want it to look glowing, not jaundiced, not sickly. And I'm going to put a shadow under her nose too. There probably was one there. I might move to the pinks just a little bit for her lips. Now I do have some brown there, but just want to kind of make them a little bit more softer. I will put more brown there in a second. Yeah, you know, people get so used to looking at lipsticks. Do we think that's what color really is? No one has that color lip. And there we go. If you guys are out tonight, it's being advertised as the Christmas star out there. I don't know if that's really fair. It is a marvelous conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, and it's easy to see it's right above the sunrise. But I'm afraid people are looking for a very, very bright star, and that may not quite be it. It is a conjunction, but both Jupiter and Saturn were much easier to see and much brighter when they were in opposition a few months ago. Right now, they're headed for the solar glare, so they're actually weakening intensity. And you can see how that flesh is kind of coming together now. And that yellow is still a little strong, but I think it's going to fall back nicely when I get that walnut color onto it. Not sure that's the right name for it. Remember, colors have many different names. Everybody makes colors just a little bit differently. Drawing over there a little bit. I'm going to look at that reflective light, try to get that down. But again, because the drawing's there, I can look at it. It just makes it a lot easier to try to get a nice image down if I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I do have a black colored pencil. I would advise everyone not to use black until the very, very, very end, and really just as an accent. It can cause more problems than you think. You can take a really good drawing and really make a disastrous move by adding black or adding too much black. One of the drawings I showed you was working that out beforehand. What I'm going to do, though, is maybe cross over and work on graphite just a little bit. Let me just bring this to some sort of conclusion with my darkest brown here. Soften that up just a little bit. Get these eye design from Amelia Moore. She likes these nice Egyptian eyes with long eyelashes. She's a wonderful artist in my Art 2 class. And she loves cosmetology. All right, so I want to move over to the other drawing in a minute, because I think we've done just about enough with this one right now. All right, so I want to spend a little time on the graphite side of things. So that's how I kind of make my flesh tone there. And what I'm going to do here is work on the face just a little bit the same thing. I'll move this way so you can kind of see me just back again. There's my original. Here's my drawing. Can you guys see me okay? Very good. All right. And again, here I'm working on my light and dark, but now I have no color. I'm working strictly in tone. It's a little bit different. It's not better or worse. It's just different. And although a lot of people like to work in black ink, and many people love to work in graphite, I love graphite, one of my favorite mediums to work in. But I'm afraid people are just avoiding color. And I think as an art teacher, it's very important for me to make sure that you have all the tools available to you. And again, let's get that. So it would be just a little bit different. And there is my eye. And again, I'm going to build that nose up with that. And I'm going to let that cheek come out. And I'm building my tones up softly. A lot of times people just go too fast, too quick, and then the graphite is a lot easier to add than it is to take away. Remember, your eraser is a drawing tool. It's not just to make mistakes. You can blend with your eraser. And for my Art 3 and 4, we did portraits, so I'm expecting some knowledge of anatomy. All right. All right, well, there you go. I think I got a pretty good start here on both of them. I think you have a demonstration that you can work on. So here we're working on application of tone. Here we're working on application of color. I've got to be able to know the difference when I'm working. It is probably easy to get a realistic drawing when you're working in just tone than with color, but I'd like you to start work with color purposefully. And I want to see some beautiful drawings done. We'll look at those. So again, for the progress reports, we got a project done for all the classes. Each class should come back with 2 drawings in the sketchbook. I am looking for 8 by 11. This is done a little bit smaller because I did more than one. I am looking for color. I'm looking for color studies, and I will get this one done, and I will do another video before we go away for Christmas break. Remember, my office hours are tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I think. Please check out the LMS, and please check out the LMS during Christmas vacation. But for all of you, Feliz Navidad, Prosperos Año y Felicidad. That was for you, Miss Underwood. Merry Christmas.